Today's Lunenburg Water District Commissioners Meeting Agenda, August 14th, 2024. Start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking at the minutes. Just July 24th.
Yeah, it just has the attachment on the back for the letter that we received that was
Correct.
referenced.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion, if you're ready,
Ready.
to approve the minutes of July 10th, 2024.
Here a second.
I second
So moved. All those in favor?
Aye. All right.
Alright. Next thing we have is, excuse me, review town's proposed water supply zoning bylaw.
Where are we at in the process? That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
quite figure out.
Nothing,
There's one more planning board meeting on it, and then it goes to.
Well,
Okay.
nothing new since our last meeting, but I put it back on the agenda again because I thought maybe we could put a draft back to them if there was specific things that you wanted to change. So this is the draft that Richard, the interim plan coordinator, after your meeting that you guys all went to,
yep,
he highlighted, you can see where he crossed out certain things, he
Yep.
highlighted that. So is there anything in here, are you guys good to go for me to send something back to say, yep, board's good, or are there things on here which, a couple of things I kinda highlighted?
yep.
Cause you guys kinda seem to make up your mind about the special permit thing, but it wasn't really decided, so am I leaving it, should I take it out? Do you even want to send them a draft back? It sounded like they wanted a final draft for the meeting, for their next meeting on the 26th, but they haven't reviewed anything more.
So are they looking more for comments from us on what is this like their,
I think they just wanna know, do you agree with this? Do you agree with this draft?
no.
Okay, so what do you want to change for me to send back to them to say, these are the things that the water commissioners are requesting? Obviously, I think they could say yes or no, and leave it as is, but are there things that you guys,
I'd like to see them take out the special permit required for us to do anything for, it's site plan review is adequate enough. I don't know of any other water district anywhere that has to go for a special permit for anything that they're doing. So I just think this is like brand new, never seen it anywhere else before, doesn't need to go to that level, and I just really feel that it's unnecessary to.
So you're referring to zone one.
Zone one and zone
Remove it
two.
all, from all.
Special permit required.
so that's page 8.
Yeah,
if you
and
were
then
gonna
we
just stop
talked about
page
treatment in
8.
zone one and zone two, and that's should be split, right?
That was just highlighted for what they were
Yeah, we have
changing,
it
but
changed
basically,
for
page
Right.
8 is uses and activities requiring a special permit. So page 8, 1 is
Okay,
all
correct.
of zone 1.
Yep,
H, 2, D, C, F, and G pertains to zone 2. So are those the two sections that you want removed completely, zone 1 and zone 2? for
Yeah, I
special
don't think a
permit?
special permit, it's nothing that I've seen, I've tried to find it somewhere else for another water district as a requirement, and I just think it's, we're covered under site plan review.
I
So-
agree.
Okay.
I don't want, I just feel that that's, we talked about the differences at the last planning board meeting. They were so slight, and I don't, there's specific verbiage, I think, or specific meaning when they call for a special permit, and this doesn't fall into any of that. And I think it's just excessive.
Yeah, it's just something else we have to do if we're gonna need to do something.
Well, you gotta jump through the hoop, you don't have to jump through it twice.
That's right.
I think, I've been on the fence about this whole thing, I really kind of looked at it, and I just don't see how a special permit is applicable in this situation.
Right.
I just don't think it fits what a special permit is really, required for. I understand why they're out there, but if you look at things that require special permits, adding a treatment plant is just not one of them. So I would like to see that taken out.
Okay, so remove. And then it was just one other on page 5,
Yeah.
permitted uses, G. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Page
Yeah.
6, H. Page 6. H was still
Right.
under the permitted uses, shall not include, so we need to remove that because we're not doing, okay.
Yep.
So really, I mean, and then Fran, you had talked about just adding in the DEP
That
wording
DEP wording.
for the permitted, which is on the single piece of paper right here.
Yeah.
Which
Activities
is just-
conducted by Lunenor which are necessary and incidental to the construction, installation, operation, maintenance, inspection, repair, replacement, protection of the well, and associated infrastructure necessary and incidental to the use of the well is a public water supply consistent with the requirements of Mass Drinking Water Regulation 310 CMR 22.
Yeah,
So that's a requirement that,
right,
and that's why we have that very restricted easement
Correct.
that allows us to do that.
Okay. So I will add this section in, and I will highlight those few sections that you guys want taken out.
And then they automatically send this to the Attorney General for review?
I don't know the steps with that. I
Yeah.
don't know, I mean, all I know is that they were talking about wanting to have a final draft for their next meeting on the 26th. I don't know if that means they then will have the final draft and then send it to the Attorney General. And-
So after the next meeting, isn't that when it goes to the public hearing stage?
Well, I thought the next meeting was yet just another,
Regular.
regular public hearing, they'll talk about that, so I do think it's important that we,
Yeah, I'll get this done right away.
this to them being like, this
Yeah.
is what the Lunenburg Water District is in favor of.
Yeah, and he can
And then
forward
they
it to this
can,
board and.
However it
Because
goes.
it sounds like after the last meeting, they're, not in session, or they're not talking about this until I think
No,
it's
he said they
August
wouldn't in the
20th
email.
or something.
It was a Monday.
Yeah, he said they weren't until the
Correct.
26th, that there was no
Right.
other discussions.
Yeah.
I
So, yeah,
So that's why I just thought to be proactive, I
I
can make
agree.
some changes and we can send them a draft back and
Sure.
then they have time to review it before their meeting on the 26th.
Yep.
And then,
My wife's in the car.
and then I guess you can,
We're heading.
do you guys want, will you all be there? Do you want me to
No, plane.
post it
Oh.
as a meeting on the 26th?
I don't know, that's a,
You post it, and then if we're not all there?
sure.
But
Okay.
even, yeah, so if she didn't post, you still both can go there.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be voting on it.
Right.
Oh,
Right,
true.
we're
Yeah,
not,
okay.
we're not changing anything.
Yeah,
We're-
okay.
We're
We
making
can go
our
to
recommendations on the
Q&A,
changes.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just wanna make sure that eventually we get whoever needs to weigh in on it. I'd like to make sure that, DEP is,
Well, that's what
on
I'm
board
thinking,
with
if we
this.
send this back to them, then they come up with whatever they want, and
And
then
then
we
we
can
send them a
request on that Monday,
Yep.
when you come up with yours, when you send it to the Attorney General, can you send us a copy and then?
Mhm.
yeah, we just wanna make sure
We'll
we're,
look forward to it, too.
we're covering everything from our regulatory authority point of view.
Yeah.
I think where the DP looks is the zone 1,
Yep,
because that's what they require us to detect.
yep.
I just
Okay.
wanna make
I'll
sure
make
that
those
we're not,
changes.
we're not doing
Yeah.
anything that they would not approve of.
Right.
That's all. I know we have some members of the public here that may want to speak on this, and I will allow them to do that at that time. It's pertaining to this.
It is,
Okay.
for the record, building and engineering. So if I'm understanding correctly, the language in sections H1 and 2, you're okay with, except for you'd like to say the issuance of site plan approval versus special permit.
You said it.
H,
Uses and,
Yeah.
page 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both in zone 1 and zone 2, you're asking that would be, you're asking the planning board to consider having that under site plan approval instead of a special permit.
Which it would be going to anyway.
Right.
Yeah, no matter what we do, we have to go for site plan review and meet with the planning board.
Depending upon the size of the building and stuff like that, but I mean, I think it would be helpful if you just,
Instead of taking it out.
instead of
completely.
taking it out, you just say, section 8, we would just say uses requiring a site plan review.
Yep.
I could do that, yeah.
Okay.
Because I think that's what you're trying, that's what you're
Sure.
trying, and they're gonna either agree or not agree.
Correct,
But
that's
at least,
actually,
but at least the language within it is acceptable.
Okay.
yes,
It's on
if
those.
required for a site plan review.
They'd have to change a little bit. The zone 1 following uses activities are permitted only upon issuance of a special permit. It would be only after a site plan review.
Right, the top would say site, wherever it says special permit in here, it would say
Site
site
plan.
plan review.
I mean, would it
Okay.
be site plan review if required? I know certain things require certain things, I mean, I'm assuming that pretty much
Anything we build is
is gonna want that,
Right,
so, yes.
Okay.
okay. And then they can decide at that point, if they decide they wanna keep it special permit, then it is what it is.
Correct.
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah.
and then,
It'd be the first one in the state.
so it's good to be number 1.
Nope.
Um,
Not accurate.
And the other part is it just that, or is it that plus Fran's language he's talking about?
and permitted uses.
Permitted
in zone
uses.
1. Yeah, because I know.
I don't
we
think
went
it's
through a
in
lot
here.
of-
It's, do you want to,
Right, I'm familiar with the language.
oh,
And
okay.
I think that that's already covered under the state regulations as it sits. I don't think that, and I don't think that they're gonna have a problem with adding it, but I'm just saying if they don't add it, I think that that's covered under 310 CMR 22 anyways.
Which this references, right?
Right, so I mean, it's already covered under the regulations on the state level. And there's nothing in here that prohibits you from doing what's required by the state.
You know what, I
But
can
it's
understand what you're.
better safe than sorry
Right.
putting it in.
I can absolutely understand what you're saying, we know that this is the law, the CMR
Yep.
law, you know. Whether it made it in there or not, doesn't negate the fact that that is a law, however,
Correct.
I think since this is getting up for a
Into
rewrite or
non-share.
whatever, I would recommend that it gets put in.
Yeah.
And that's a simple recommendation, I think that's good language to have in there, so people understand it.
Right.
But if it's not in there, it's still in there, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I just think it's a good idea to put it. It's
It
just-
puts people on notice that other
Yeah,
regulation
there's
exists
another regulation outside of what, you know, Lunenburg decides that governs this
as well.
as well.
Right.
So I think it's,
And as far as the process goes, this is still under the planning board development of the
Correct.
bylaw. From here, my understanding is the planning board will, vote to issue whatever version of this that they're gonna issue. That then would go to the town warrant and go through that process. Then there's another public hearing process that opens up to review it at a public hearing and under the zoning changes by town meeting.
Yeah.
To get it on the town meeting. Once it goes to town meeting, it gets voted, hopefully it gets approved. Once it gets approved, that's when it goes to the AG. Okay? I don't know of the mechanism that Fran's referring to where DEP has to review this. Okay, so I believe that the only place that it gets reviewed or would get reviewed is when it goes past town meeting for the AG to then step in and say, wait a minute, DEP's coming up with comments and here you go.
so, just asking a question here, if you don't mind.
No?
Let's just say some sort of bylaw got approved in Lunenburg but did not meet a mass general law. In this case, if the AG sits in and says, no, you can't say this doesn't mean anything. You know, it just, we're thinking forwardly that let's have the AG or whoever this governing body is look at this first before we put something all the way through the wickets that
Yep.
can't fly.
No, I think that makes sense, but I don't think the AG will give you any comment back until it goes past town meeting.
Okay.
I think that it may not be a bad idea, once the final version has been created by the planning board, if you guys as a board forward that off to DEP to have.
Correct, I guess
Yeah.
that's, yes,
Say-
that's what we're
say-
looking to.
We're trying to, if we send it along and DEP gives it their blessing, that's one more thing that's in the positive direction of
Right.
this bylaw passing.
Right, right.
You know, you don't wanna and I don't know why you'd wanna pass a bylaw and then have somebody look at
The
it and
DEP
find a
may not
problem.
comment on it either.
No, they
because,
might not.
Yeah,
They may not, and,
Right.
you know, hopefully everything's good and it's fine, but if something is, you know, blatantly wrong with it, that
Yep.
violates another mass general law or a DEP law, we're just trying to mitigate.
pick it up before you have
Right.
town meeting. yeah.
That's all we're looking
Yeah.
to, so.
But I think that in general, that kind of lays out how the structure of how it would go through the process.
Right.
That's odd, that the AG would look at it after we pass it.
Yeah, that's
I didn't-
how, because they
I-
only look at whether it conflicts with mass law in some, or constitutional law in some other regard. They don't look at the fine tuning of the language. They look at it in other words, say, okay, we're gonna put this bylaw through, and everybody has to wear a yellow shirt on Wednesdays, okay? That's the bylaw. You can't do that.
But if you put the bylaw through and it passes at town meeting and everybody has to wear a yellow shirt on Wednesdays, then it goes to the AG's office,
And then
and
he
then
can-
they say you can't?
Then he can
Line it up.
they can
Why
redline
wouldn't you
it.
want them to look
I'm
at it before
assuming they
that?
do this just for the amount of traffic they must get. If every little town wanted
Alright.
to start.
It's part of the
Yeah.
process for law creation within the Commonwealth. That's just
Yeah.
how it is. And it's not just Massachusetts, every state has a similar process,
Sure.
you know.
I mean, we'll do our due diligence as a board to present to them a acceptable factual document. And then what the planning board does with it is what the planning board does with it. So I'm in favor of what we annotated here, and we'll push on.
All right, I'll make the changes and get it over to
Good.
them.
Any other public questions on that? Okay.
I got one thing I just want to bring up, I don't know if we even, number 4, paragraph on line number 4,
On the,
yeah.
On what?
Oh, just the,
yeah,
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up. Passive recreation. What had happened, what did we do with that? What did we decide on that? That's gonna go,
We were gonna leave that.
you're gonna leave that?
That's the definition, and that's.
Yeah, I know it is, but I'm just saying, walking, hiking, cross-country skiing, and bicycling.
Yep. That's the
Yeah,
definition
nothing
of
with a
passive
motor.
recreation.
Nothing with a motor.
right.
Gonna have some fun cross-country skiing down there.
It's very,
But it's tying the Lancaster Ave.
It also said
Yeah.
I could hunt down there.
Yeah?
yeah.
I don't think you hunt down there.
Well, this is all for zone 1.
I know, it's all zone, it's all the zone ones, I know.
I was just, it just seems like, who would hike down there? I mean, you walk 50 feet, you walk
I
down.
think this is,
They-
I think this
Yeah, I
is.
understand. This is just, this is just.
It is a very, very
Yeah.
specific, okay. Okay, moving on. Commissioner, Superintendent, Clerk, Treasurer additions.
All I got is, this Mass Ave, the extra one on there, but Mass Ave, they're moving ahead.
Yep.
Temporary lines are all completed. Tough time, we flushed them, chlorinated them, but doing bacteria samples, they failed the last two, so we rechlorinated again today. So there's two sides, one side, north side of, Mass Ave and then south side, you could say.
Yep.
So the south side, we just tested today, so we're gonna see tomorrow, we'll know if that side passes. The other side, we've already tested twice and they failed both, so we've rechlorinated the line. And hopefully, once that goes, then stuff's gonna start happening. Now they're gonna start tying the houses on. And the original plan was to tie each house onto the temporary line. And I think what they're gonna do is dig up their service and tie them onto the service. Because one of the things is the pressure reducing valves in the houses, where do we put them? Do we put one on the house? Do we connect it outside faucet?
Oh, yeah.
What if something happens in the house now because
Now
we're
we're
feeding
going-
backwards?
Yeah.
So they're thinking, and I think a majority of them, they're just gonna time the curb stops. Like, there's some of the houses long distance off the road, for them to run a hose all the way to the house would be, take much more time than just
Right.
taking up the shut off.
Now, they're gonna tie all those in once the temporary line, then the temporary line's gonna be feeding them, and then they're gonna throw the whole main in and then finish the taps on when the main's done, in the main?
Everybody does that different. Some people just do the main, test chlorinate, get it passed, and then do the taps and tie those in. Some contractors will actually do the taps as they go
Yeah.
and test that, so some people are scared about doing the taps, passing the test. I'm not, they don't think so. If you don't
Yeah.
like it, they don't think so.
Do you know how they're planning to do it?
I haven't asked, that's specific, I just,
Yeah,
also I'm trying to kick them in the butt, get this thing going, so.
looks like they're prepping pretty good.
They're going to
They're
set-
doing a nice job, it seems clean and pretty
And they're
organized.
setting the whole job up. I mean,
Yeah.
if you went down and looked at the string,
Oh, yeah.
you'll see where the valves are going, so the whole job's laid out, they make sure all the materials in hand or en route. The only thing we're unsure of is the directional drill, which is from Townsend Harbor Road past, actually to Danny Proctor's.
Yep.
So, Danny's request was that we go a little further, go past his driveway.
Sure.
And so I spoke to the engineer about it. He says, looking at $10,000 to $15,000 increase in to go that extra distance. But then you're not paying for the water main for them to put it in. So that's $10,000 or $11,000 right there. So it's not a huge cost
Different.
to go that little extra and less.
He just
connections.
paved that for granite curving.
He did.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's like, I really would like it. I'm
Yeah.
like, we'll see what we can
Yeah,
do.
absolutely.
So it's not a huge expense to make him happy, so.
It's an expense for us.
It would be, So that's it on Mass Ave. Next thing that came up is the two-way radios that we're using right now. I don't know if we get struck by lightning or what. We can't, barely could talk to each other. Everything was static, even on mobile radios, which typically you can talk 20 miles away.
Mhm.
You can stand right next to the tank, everything was static. So the radio guy came out today and stuck in a backup repeater for us to use.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if it can be fixed or what happened to it. I didn't get to speak to him, he was gone before I got here. But something to think about, the fire and police are upgrading their radio system. And we're all in the same spots, where our antennas are, theirs are, and I didn't know if this was something that maybe you guys would consider that we join with them, so we do it, a joint system, because when you have multiple antennas on, like say, a water tank, they're all fighting with each other. So when this one's transmitting, everybody else is dead. No receiving is gonna come in. So if we combine the system together, it's actually called a combiner, but where the antennas are set with filters specific to each individual department, so that no one's interfering with each other. So I think in the long run, if we did say yes, let's jump in and do something with them, then I think it could be a benefit to
I
everybody.
thought you could hear each other's conversations.
No, we're all still gonna be on our own frequencies, but they're all gonna be filtered so they're not interfering with each other. So like right now, if I keyed up at the perfect time, like if the police started to transmit and I keyed up, it would, you would hear us pass through the police channel. I've heard it a few times. Or if they're talking in a weak spot and I transmit, they're all done. So anyway, so.
And you're
this-
talking with the same contractor that is dealing with the town stuff?
Yes, so I spoke to the fire chief, he's having a tough time getting it through the town to get this process started.
I thought they already,
It's something to do with, the radio guy is on the state bid, so you don't need to bid that.
Yeah.
You can just go buy the equipment and you can go buy the equipment. But when it comes to the part of putting it in, now you're exceeding the prevailing, the law, the bidding laws. So, that's kind of where it's getting into a touchy spot. So this is where the radio guy, he says if we jump in with them, we would actually help in satisfying the state laws to get that.
Oh, yeah.
Because now it's split, not this big chunk of money to them, now it's split to us too, so we disperse it into three departments instead of two. And we'll see how it goes, I mean, just giving you guys a heads
Sure.
up that, and the radios that we have, 14, 15 years old, so I mean, it's not it's.
Yep.
So they're not working now? Oh, the
It's
guys
on
that-
now, because he
Oh,
stuck in
okay.
a temporary repeater, but we had 3 sites, now we just run off of one. So, that one's working better than.
But it is nice and it's important, because when the guys are down there doing stuff, Lisa and I can hear what's going on, where are they, what are they doing, so if somebody
Oh,
calls,
yeah, no, it's,
we're aware of
yeah.
everything, it's not a
Yeah.
phone or a text or
No, I
something
agree.
like that, so it's.
I'm very, very firm on no use of cell phones. Everything's by two-way
Yeah.
radio. Because if 2 guys talk on my cell phone, I don't know what they're doing.
Right.
She doesn't know. Hey, we shut the water off, and it's said by cell phone, then someone calls, hey, I have no water, we have no idea.
Yeah.
So if they say it by two-way, we all know it, everybody knows, even if fire, police,
it's
listen.
also like communication too, in case cell phones don't work, et cetera.
Yeah.
You know, like that, that's very important.
That happened in the ice storm.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we were big on the two-way radios, the DPW was on the Nextels.
Yeah.
And Nextel was up at Chase Road Water Tank, and I was up there checking because everybody was on backup power, so I went and read the propane tank, and they were at like 72%, but when I was up there, Nextel was running off a generator that was running diesel,
Mm.
and when I was there, it ran out of fuel.
Mm.
So we got up, we had a big emergency meeting at the fire department, and the DPW was like, we can't talk anymore, what's going on? I'm like,
Mm.
hey, battery just, I mean, generator.
Mhm.
So yeah, so two-way radios are huge. So
Yeah.
that's all I got.
Townsend?
Oh, Townsend. Superintendent Townsend called me yesterday. Their treatment plant is going to be completed and online in the middle of September. And he offered us to go and visit the site.
Love to see it.
And
Yeah, me
so
too.
we'll have to post it because I'll be a
Yep.
full board. I want to bring all the guys, everybody.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And he also, he's still pushing the selling Lunenburg water, so.
Really?
Oh,
Of course.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and if you do the math. it
Do the
doesn't
math.
matter, So,
I'll do the math.
we can do the math, but they're putting a new storage tank in, on Lunenburg Road, which is newest Townsend Road to us.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna put a water tank up on the hill up there.
Oh.
So, that's how his way was thinking that they have the ability to feed Lunenburg.
Right, but we'd have to put whatever miles of pipe in.
Yeah, and the downside is we'd be owned by Kevin O'Brien. Howard
Wow.
Street.
Howard Street, yeah.
So that would be yeah.
Well, they wanna know all the different things we can do, so let's find out the different things we can do. But typically, when we've done that in the past, it would cost us more to buy water from an outside entity than we sell it for.
Correct, so.
Most of the time, when you've done that, it's cost more.
True, so when we did Keating's, the board, I don't know if you were on the board.
Yeah.
I don't know. The board was dead against putting a well in the Keys, 4 miles of water main, let's build a pump station. So the whole thing was Fitchburg. So we looked at Fitchburg, and you start looking at purchasing water from Fitchburg, how much it's gonna cost you a year.
Right.
The cost to buy water from Fitchburg for just this little chunk of water was more money than the loan payment to go to.
Correct. To go to Keating's, yeah.
So Dave Rogers was the big one. Dave Rogers, if you don't know Dave, he's by the penny.
Mhm.
Everything's by the penny. You gotta be perfect, specific detail. And so we started running the numbers, started looking, and I don't remember the number, we were looking at 200,000 or 300,000 gallons a day, so it wasn't like anything huge. And it was exceeding what the cost was to buy the water. And then the positive side was Keating's could do 1.4 million gallons a day.
Mhm.
So if you looked at that number, it blew the number away
Right.
from Fitchburg. So, but if you run the numbers, and it's not
Yeah.
very difficult to do,
No.
and you run the numbers, and let's say it is cheaper to do that, it's out of your control. It's just like they can raise the rate,
Right.
like look at Lemons at Fitchburg, they have their rate, and then they charge Lunenburg a different rate. So, and if Townsend did that, then what do you do?
And then there's the infrastructure to get to where you can get the water transport and the cost of doing that.
There's a lot to consider, I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
definitely, but like, as we go through all this stuff, I look at it in a 20-year block, that's how I'm trying to envision any investment we make to, what's this gonna do for us in a 20-year time frame? So,
Everything changes.
yeah.
I got
Are you
it.
good?
I'm done.
I have, one, the,
Long.
yep, no, investment that we did,
Correct.
the CEDAR.
Yep.
He is coming due in a couple weeks, the one that we did last year for the 1.5 million.
Yep.
Yeah, comes due on the 22nd. So we need to decide if we would like to invest again. I talked to Fran, and
Yeah.
that money was allocated for the tank. And it doesn't look like, for painting the tank, the maintenance of the
And
tank.
what's the term on reinvesting?
So he gave me two. He gave me a 6-month and a 12-month. So the 6-month is 4.75 and the 12-month is 4.5.
I'm,
So,
see, when's the next time we look at the tank?
They said 2 years, right? We definitely have more than 1 year. And me, from what I'm hearing with the interest rates dropping, I would pick 1 year for that thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would too.
Yep.
okay. All right, I will reinvest.
Do we need to
I'll
vote that?
message him tomorrow.
I don't think we need to vote that,
No,
no. Sure. Let's make a motion that we roll over or reinvest the
It's called a CEDAR.
CDR for 12 months.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
I don't, why do we have to second something when we all have to vote on it at the end?
it's just,
All right, I'll reach out
It's
to
the
him.
old
That's,
way.
It's the process.
the old way.
It's the,
Rules, Robert?
Robert's
Robert,
Yeah, so-
it's Robert, Robert came up with that?
If you made a motion and no one seconded it, it's dead.
Right.
So if someone has to second, that means they're on your side. So I mean, you could come up with a crazy thing, and
But if we all vote on it, all vote in favor of it anyway.
Actually, I think on a board of 3, the rules are a little different. So, I did read some of Robert's rules in there. But I think if you had a board of 7, for example, and if someone said, it's Yellow Shirt Wednesday, then it was all looked at.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, you guys all good?
I'm done.
Any
Good.
public comment?
I have a comment. Andy Starbasky, 8 Winter Green Court. I came here, I was trying to get an update. Has the district submitted anything to the state for the clean water SRF for this year?
no.
No.
I was hoping you'd give me a status on what's going on with the Keating well.
Pilot test is still in progress. The only part of the testing that's been completed is the hardness test. And the hardness test ran for, I think it was only for 3 hours, well, it ran for 2 weeks, but in 3 hours it was already 0 hardness. So it was proven that it was working very effectively.
I believe the last time we met with our engineer, we were waiting to get all the testing done before we submitted any SRF.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because the public wanted to have all the information. So we're waiting to get all the information before we submit for SRF.
That was gonna be my next question, because last time you submitted before the pilot. So it's the pilot study that's holding up putting Keating.
It's the request from the public to get all of the information as accurate as possible. So waiting for the testing, we've had numerous meetings where people have suggested to wait for the testing so we know exactly what all the costs are gonna be, so that's what we're waiting on.
Is the goal to submit maybe next year?
As soon as we have all the information, I would think the goal would be to submit as soon as possible.
Because of all the wells and the PFAS treatment, is Keating the priority?
There is nothing planned at this time, right? Because we're still gathering all the information.
I thought you wanted to pursue all of them again.
Yeah, we want to look at every option and give every
Let
option
the
to the
voters
public.
pick which of, how.
That's the way I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Give them,
So-
yep.
But until we get all the information,
We
haven't
can't,
really.
we can't, yeah. we
Also, the
can't.
SRF cycle is past.
Yes.
You know, so we can't, there's no.
At this point, what do we have? It was,
We're
July,
hoping to have
August.
all our ducks in a row, information gathered, put out to the public, take public input, and then apply for SRF funding on the next available cycle.
So has there been more PFAS testing at Keating and Lancaster Ave?
That would be.
Since
I don't
when?
think
know.
I think they only have us testing twice a year, so I'm not sure if there's anything.
Because there's been some question, I asked because there was questions about the Lancaster Ave PFAS levels. And statistically, where did it fall? So do we have any new data since what you presented in the
I
spring?
think, I don't, yeah, I'm not sure when the date was. I know wells 1 and 5 both failed the PFAS, wells 2 and 4 passed. But I don't know the dates on when that was.
Is that data, is that something the public can
Yeah.
look at?
Yeah, I can dig it
That'd be
up.
great. Thanks.
Hello?
That's it.
Right. Anybody else? Accept a motion to adjourn?
Oh, yeah, you got it.